Well, we've been looking at what it means to have compassion, to care for others. But there are stories in the Bible that remind us that we're also supposed to care for ourselves. And that's one of the stories that we find in the 12th chapter of Mark. Sometimes we're given the message that caring for ourselves is selfish, or we worry that others might think we don't care enough for them. But the Bible says it's so important to have love and compassion for ourselves that God even included it as one of the greatest rules to live by. Today's story highlights something simple yet often forgotten. A commandment to love God, a commandment to love our neighbors, and yes, a commandment to love ourselves. Listen to this story and think about what they feel, these people feel, when they hear Jesus say, love and care for others. Love and care for yourself. Why is it important to care for yourself? What does it look like for you? Jesus and his disciples spent a lot of time in Jerusalem, and one day he was at the temple, a place where people gathered to worship God, just as we gather to worship God. And he was teaching and telling stories, and a lot of people listened eagerly, but many had questions. The temple leaders and elders were unsure of him and asked, "Who gave you the power to do and say these things?" Some were jealous and wanted to trick him, so they asked, "Should the people pay taxes to Caesar?" Others were worried and asking, "What happens in the resurrection and the afterlife?" Then one temple leader was curious about Jesus. He saw that Jesus was wise and kind. He wasn't really trying to trick him. He just wanted to know. He said, "Which one of God's laws or God's commandments is the most important?" We should remember that in the Old Testament, God gave to Moses on that mountain long ago a whole bunch of rules and regulations about how to live, what to eat, what not to eat, how to plant crops, and even the kind of materials we should wear in our clothing. 613 commandments in all about how to live according to God's will. So which one of God's laws is the most important? And Jesus answered, the first is what we all know. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. But before the leader of the temple could ask anything more, Jesus went on. The second commandment is also great. Love your neighbor as yourself. These two are the most important of God's law. And actually, there's three. Love the Lord, love the neighbor, and love yourself. Because God created you. Jesus came and died for you and rose from the dead for you. God considers you important. So think about yourself and think about all the gifts that God has given you. Think about how you need to take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Have pride in who you are so that you may use those gifts